Welcome to the virtual campground. We are
Hi.
so glad you are here. Thanks for joining us in beautiful, sun-filled, fun-filled Shelbyville, Kentucky.
Fun-filled and sun-filled?
Well,
Well, today, anyway.
sun-filled today. It is. We've had our share of rain over the
A lot of
last.
rain.
Yeah. So, but it has been a good place to come if you are interested in bourbon and horses.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Bourbon and horses.
Well, there's a lot going on, but those are the two things we're focused on here. Fireworks.
Well, it's all related to the horses.
That's true. Good point.
So yes, we're in Shelbyville, which is about 30 minutes outside of west, right, of Louisville. And then, but earlier we were in Georgetown, which is 30 minutes northeast of Lexington. So we've kind of been going back and forth.
Yeah.
Bounced a little bit around. And we're going to move one more time. Actually, two more times. We're going to move one more time down to Frankfort, which is kind of halfway between Georgetown and Shelbyville. Yeah. And then we are going to potentially move for the last couple nights to Keeneland Racing Track. We heard... Yeah, did you not know about this? So we heard that you can go out there to the racing track and sort of tailgate, but sort of hang out and watch the Kentucky Derby while at Keeneland, which is a different racetrack, prettier racetrack, but another racetrack. So anyway, but lots of things going on. We're going to have a lot more to tell you about Kentucky when we finish being here and kind of pull together. We're going to have an amazing show, I think, on Kentucky, just because we've been here. We'll have been here like 5 weeks by the time we finish, I think.
Yeah. There's so much to do. I mean, just if you just do bourbon alone, there's tons to do.
Yes.
So, hello, Mark.
And Jimmy.
Yeah,
Yay.
welcome. Good to see you. Pop your name into the chat if you are here. If you're not here, don't pop your name into the chat. I'm not sure that makes any sense.
No, it's kind of like the teacher used to say, please say here if you're not here. That doesn't really, doesn't make any sense. But yeah, so the one thing I will say about this campground we're at, so we're at a county campground.
Yep.
And we actually have full hookups, but it's the only spot in this campground that has full
10
hookups.
10 sites or so?
Yeah, 10 RV, but tons of camping. But I'll tell you what, we are vastly outnumbered by geese.
Yeah. Lots of loud geese.
Loud.
Very loud.
Yes. This morning at about 6:30, I thought there was potentially 1,000 of them out there. They were really loud.
Might be a bit of an exaggeration.
I think that was an exaggeration.
But,
well, maybe.
But it's a nice little pleasant campground.
It is. It's a nice campground.
Good location. Mm-hmm. And so it's been nice. Other than the geese.
Shelbyville's a cute little town. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The one thing that did caught us by surprise really was all the birds besides the geese, and one of them started building a nest in our slide out.
Yes.
So I was able to move that nest gently out of the way.
When we were in Georgetown, we were in the same campground as the Kempers, and it was a daily battle with them trying to get the nest from being under their awning. So it was kind of interesting. Yeah,
I need to check before we leave here to make sure that they didn't find you. But I haven't heard any little pitter patter of feet. That's what we were hearing.
Well, wouldn't they be eggs if they made a nest? There wouldn't be any pitter patter yet.
No, but I'm just when they were building. We heard them building. With their little pitter patter of feet all over. Yeah. So hopefully they haven't come back. I haven't noticed anything, but we've been having a good time. We've been going to drink some bourbon. We had, of course, Debra mentioned the Kempers. They're hanging out here in the area with us. We've been to several.
That one's Angel's Envy.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Really nice property. And then some other friends came in from the Dallas area. And we went to several distilleries.
And our son.
Yeah. So
he's the tall one in the back.
So that's at Heaven Hill. And that's what bourbon looks like.
In case you didn't know.
That's Four Roses, a really nice distillery in town. So we've had a good time here.
We have. So we will be giving you full information on the different distilleries. But I will tell you before that one comes out, if you are planning to come to this area, make reservations in advance. Mm-hmm. These folks are very busy. It's very popular to come do the Bourbon Trail these days. But speaking of fireworks, we did get to see, so they had a kickoff for the Kentucky Derby on Saturday. And it is the largest fireworks show in America, they say.
It was pretty incredible.
And I think I would concur. I've seen a lot of fireworks shows in my years. And I love fireworks. And so...
You're an expert, really.
I'm almost, no. But it was amazing. It had like 2 sections going off with more than one firework at a time. And then the ending was...
I've never seen
crazy.
Like
it was crazy.
Yeah.
The middle section was what normally other people have as a finale. And then they start it back up pretty much at that pace, kept up until the end, which was like 4 finales. It was crazy. It was really crazy.
I mean, you felt it as much as heard it.
Yeah,
it was just,
exactly. Saw it. Lots of colors. Yeah. So anyway, so that was it. That's our time here so far.
Yep. Like you said, we'll put together a show that's just specifically about this area, some tips and tricks and what have you. We've learned a lot. To your credit, you've gotten us into a lot of distilleries, almost too many.
We've had a really good time.
You have done a
and we'll remember most
job.
of it.
So it's been great. A hot air balloon during Derby week. Man, they try to cram a lot of things in. Used to be, so I guess that's not
okay. Yeah, I haven't seen that yet.
There
Mark,
are a lot
or
of
heard about. They did have an huge air show right before the fireworks.
Yeah.
It went from like 3 to 9, and we were out in Louisville during the day a little bit in the evening. And you could feel the airmen going by. You didn't exactly always see them.
No.
I guess that's why they're stealth.
They weren't stealth. We just didn't see them. But yeah, that was really cool. So it's great. We highly recommend it. But if you're coming around Derby week, plan. I think anytime you plan ahead. Plan ahead anytime. But especially around Derby.
Yes. So that reminds me. So
yeah.
Because it is now less than 2 weeks until the Derby. So I'm going to have a little bit of Derby trivia for those of you that are in the chat.
Exciting.
Isn't that exciting?
That's so exciting.
I know. So we'll have a little Derby chat later. But we also want to tell you that today we're going to talk a little bit about some things you can do around the rig that make it
a little more your rig.
Your rig, your home, or just things you might have to do sometimes, or that you want to do just to transform it, to make it look a little different.
Maybe fix the skylight.
Yeah, something like that. So, but in the meantime, I know that tomorrow is Jeremy's birthday.
Yes.
Sadly, he's
happy
not on
birthday,
right now,
Jeremy.
but happy birthday, Jeremy. He's on his birthday tomorrow. So
He'll
if anybody
feel that
else,
in the universe.
he will. He'll feel that we put that out there. But if anybody else in chat is celebrating anything, please pop it into the comments. We'd love to give you a high five. I guess that's a 10. And give you a shout out.
Yep.
Do you have anything you're celebrating?
Oh, just every day with you.
Oh, isn't that sweet?
So yeah, no, nothing that I can think of celebrating other than we have lots of bourbon in the house that we
we can celebrate a lot. Yes. We haven't actually opened them. We're trying to figure out where we're going to store them.
Yeah, storage is going to be an issue. Yeah, we might have to make a liquor cabinet out of one of these cabinets.
They might not be high enough, tall enough. Anyway, so let me start out with a trivia question before we get to our topic or our news or anything. So the first question I have is, when was the first Kentucky Derby?
When was the first? I know it was in the 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So those of you in the chat, don't Google. Just try to see if you know the answer.
Throw it out there.
See if you know. All right. So then the RV question of the day, I wanted to ask you about and see if anybody in the chat's having the same issue. We heard from the Kempers and others. We've heard that they're getting a letter.
So yeah, there's an issue with those of us that are trying to work from the rig or just want to watch a movie from the rig or whatever, use our cell service as Wi-Fi. So there are some third-party providers that contract with the big guys, AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint, etc., that will offer great packages. And AT&T or any of these big cell service providers will at any point decide that they don't want to honor those contracts anymore.
Oh.
So
they have the right just to say, nope, you're not one of our regular providers, so we say no to you.
So this is just a generic note that one of our friends received, and I've heard a lot of people receiving these over the last year or so. It seems to be happening more and more. Is that AT&T specifically, and probably other providers, but we're more familiar with AT&T, is just starting to say we're just not going to honor that. And so, here's what your option. Now, this happens to be for mobile must-haves, and they do have relationships with other carriers, so they're going to try to convert you over to one of those other plans, which may or may not be a good fit for you, just depending on what part of the country you're traveling in, whether or not, in this case, T-Mobile has towers where you're going to be, that sort of thing. Most of the big providers have towers, they've got pretty good coverage these days, but it's just kind of a pain that suddenly you find out that your wireless router, your internet, your cell service is going to be going away.
Yeah, so then you're scrambling.
So we've talked about this on other shows. We do have some other YouTube videos about connectivity on the road, but the number one rule in this lifestyle is if you rely on this sort of thing for connectivity, then you have to have backups. So make sure you've got a redundancy in ways that you can connect to the internet. So we're looking into, I don't know if you knew this, but we're looking into Starlink. We did a show on that a while back, or at least did part of it about that. And Starlink is getting more and more prevalent, and it's easier for mobile people, nomads like us, to use it.
You still have to have a permanent address.
Well, you have to give them an address. Yeah, that's the interesting thing is you have to give them an address that you want to use as your address. But I'm reading, you could literally use almost any home address in the country. Doesn't have to be your address. They're not checking on that. All they want to know is if there's an open cell in that. And if there's an open cell for Starlink in that at that address, then they're going to go ahead and put you through the queue to get your satellite. Like where our home address is back in the Dallas area, there's not an open cell. So they're saying it's going to be 2023 before we could get one.
Oh, really? So it's like almost an open seat. Like
exactly.
It has to be a seat open.
It has to be someone to get off the seat or another satellite to get up there to have more space. So, pardon the pun. So what people are doing is they're just finding random addresses around the country that are just homes that they're plugging that in. Oh, look, that's available now. Use that as my address. But by the way, my ship to address is this campground or whatever that's closer to me.
That seems kind of unfair to potentially the person that lives in that house.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. If that person gets dinged, I don't know. I'm still doing research. I'm not saying go out and do this. I'm still doing research, but that's one of the things I'm reading a lot about is people doing that.
So we'll come back with more information when we have it.
Yeah, once we pull the trigger on it, we'll let you know.
And see how it's going.
We did, yeah. So moral of that story is have a backup. So.
And if any of you have gotten that letter or have any other thoughts about how people that are getting this letter might react, if you've had success with anything, let us know.
Yeah.
We'd love to pass it on to the other TVC folks that are having these issues.
Yep. Thanks. Good idea. Pass that along.
Pass it along.
In the comments.
So leave it in the comments or email us directly.
Yep. All right. So next on the list, I think. we haven't gotten a guess as far as the Kentucky Derby, first Kentucky Derby.
The first Kentucky Derby.
I would think Mark knows. Mark's just laying low because he doesn't want. He probably knows. It sounds like he knows a lot about this area.
Yeah. They used to have a beer festival. He says, also in downtown and Horseburn Lane areas. I don't know what that means. During week before Derby, they might still. So I know they had the kickoff. Thunder is what they called the big festival. It was a festival all day long, and then the fireworks. And then I think they have several events planned through this week. We're not in Louisville directly right now, so I didn't check on it much. But next week we will be back in Louisville, so I'll be looking to see if there's any Derby events while we are there.
Yep.
So yeah.
No shortage of things going on. Okay, no. Do you want to tell everybody what
I will. I'll tell you the answer. Would you like to guess?
I would. I have to be honest. I peeked at the answer while you were talking. So.
Okay. So the first Kentucky Derby was 1875.
That was a long time ago. Do you remember the name of the horse?
Yes, that one. Yeah. Aristides. I didn't say it right probably, but it wasn't Aristotle because it ended in IDS.
That sounds like a constellation or something.
Yeah, I think Aristides, Aristides, something like that. So yes, that was it. So,
awesome.
So Kent, now I have a question for you.
Yes.
Which horse has won the Kentucky Derby more than once?
I didn't know that was the case. Man of War. No. What are you doing?
It's a trick question.
Oh.
You can't.
Oh, that's right. You can't because it's only for 3-year-olders.
That's right.
Okay.
You have to be 3 for a Kentucky Derby. A trick question.
Questions at me. Golly.
Rude.
I have a question for you. What's the unofficial name of the Derby?
Well, I know the answer because I wrote the question. But see if anybody in the chat knows the answer. What's the unofficial name of the Kentucky Derby? All right.
All right. While they're doing that, do you want to do some Debra's news?
Yes, let's do some news.
All right.
Welcome to Debra's news.
Well, first up is Drew Barrymore. And do you know why she's in the news? Apparently, Drew Barrymore is a RVer. So she's a celebrity RVer.
That's crazy.
I know, crazy. I'm wondering if anybody in this chat's ever crossed campgrounds with any of these celebrities that say that they had what are you going to say? What am I trying to say? That say they are RVing. So anyway, but she recently got together with Going RVing, and they gave her a Class C for them to take the big trip from Dallas to Waco. She and her co-host went from Dallas to Waco.
What a beautiful trip.
And they did say that. They said, what a beautiful trip. And I'm here to tell you, I've driven Dallas to Waco many times in my lifetime. I lived in Waco for a few years. It's not a beautiful trip.
No.
Just saying that now, folks. It's not a bad trip, but it's certainly not beautiful.
No, I've gone back roads from there, to do it. Even if you get off the interstate, it's much better if you get off the interstate, but it's still not a beautiful trip.
No, it's not. They did stop in Cedar Hill, which is really just outskirts of Dallas, and have barbecue. So that was probably really good. And of course, they ended up at the Silos, which, if you're really into Chip and Joanne, it's a destination. Otherwise, I'd keep driving to Austin. But that's just my opinion.
Well, that's fine that she's an RVer.
Yes, it is.
We need to get her on the show.
That'd be awesome.
And, her and we were out near Yellowstone, and who's the singer-songwriter? John Mayer.
Yep.
Yeah,
he's an RV. There.
He has a house out there, and he's an RVer.
Yep.
We need to get both of them on the show.
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, so if anybody knows John Mayer and Drew Barrymore, let us know.
Okay, Amazon is opening a new facility, actually 2 new facilities in Elkhart, which right now Elkhart has like a less than 2% unemployment rate. So folks are a little worried that Amazon coming in might cause some issues for RV manufacturing and boat manufacturing that's in the area. Of course, local authorities think it's a great thing. They're hoping it'll attract more people to the area. And Amazon is planning to use a lot of the robots, so they don't know that it will. Also, Amazon offers only $18 an hour as opposed to $20 an hour that most RVers or manufacturers do. So, but at any rate, it will be something that will be to keep an eye on in the RV industry to see that if they're coming in has any effect on the creation of the backlog of RVs that I think most of these dealers are dealing with.
Yeah, it's interesting they would pick that as a place for a new facility because it's so few people, so few workers.
Yep. It does seem strange. And also in the industry, just talking about industry, they came out with a survey from the RV industry, and thought it was interesting. Most of the new buyers that bought an RV last year, in the last probably 18 months, paid about $73,115.
Really?
So that was the average purchase cost, and that at least 61% of them got out in May or June with their new RV. So as we've talked about before, campgrounds are getting a little crowded. Lots of new people in the camping world, which welcome to our community if you're one of them. And we hope that we can help you as you're working your way into the campgrounds.
That's right.
Speaking of campgrounds, KOA, the infamous KOA, which is celebrating 60 years this summer of being the campground of RVers, I guess, or campers.
Well, it's, one of the ubiquitous, you see them everywhere.
Yes. So they started, I didn't realize this, they started out in Yellowstone River in Billings, Montana. 2 gentlemen created the first campground where they, I guess, sold a campground site to people that were needing them and start providing some amenities. And now they have more than 500 campgrounds, and they are expanding quite a bit, as we've seen, into glamping. So they're buying these campgrounds or areas where they put up those really fancy tents, and they get the into glamping. It's very
in the cabins,
glamorous camping, as so to say. And then I thought this was a fun thing. This camper is for sale, and this camper is a 1975 Travco Dodge motorhome. It is actually where the term motorhome came from.
This particular
brand, or I guess you would call it this particular type. So this was created by a gentleman named Raymond Frank. He wanted to take his family out on a vacation to Florida. So folks had, till that time, had been using house cars or trailers that were kind of grafted onto a truck. So he partnered up with a Dodge truck dealer and got the chassis and the drivetrain, and they created this, about 100 of these Frank motorhomes. They're kind of the blocky aluminum until about 63. And then it was kind of given an overhaul into what is now this Travco. But he was the one that coined the phrase motorhome.
That's pretty cool.
Isn't that fun? And now, millions of motorhomes later, we are still driving them. But anyway, this is for sale if somebody really wants it.
That would be very cool. Maybe we should call
And I think it has its original interior that you were showing there. They said that was original.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
Pretty cool.
Yep.
Very cool.
So that. And then the other topic is sort of not in news necessarily. Let's call this Campground Corner.
This is extra. This is bonus material.
Bonus material, exactly. As we were saying, we want to be the ones to help you with campgrounds. We've started, as you all know, giving more travel information and talking about campgrounds. And so this was something that I recently found. A friend of ours had sent us a campground in the Dallas area because, of course, we usually go back to Dallas around December. And they were like, hey, this is really close to where your mom lives. So I went to look into it. Well, not only was it kind of expensive. I really don't like to pay $70.
It's basically a parking lot, right?
Yeah, it was just a huge parking lot. I mean, it had all the full hookups and it had a club room and stuff. But, I mean, for a month there, it was, what did I tell you, $2,000 or something crazy. But the thing that really got me was they had a no refund policy unless you had bought trip insurance through them. That was 10% of your cost. Yep. So if we paid $2,000 for the month, we'd have to give them $200 in order to have the right to get a refund if we had to cancel for some reason.
Yeah. So basically, the trip, the RV spot, the campground, isn't giving any refunds, and they turn it all over to insurance. So if we happen to cancel, the insurance company pays the RV, the campground. So it's a great deal for them, and it just more revenue for everybody, I guess, except us.
Yeah. I mean, I've gotten kind of used to, I think, since we started 3 years ago, refunding has gotten harder. But they usually give you, at least if you can let them know 2 weeks in advance, you're going to get the majority of your money back. In most cases that I found, KOAs are pretty good about, if you're a member, giving you.
There's a $10 fee.
Or they might charge you the service fee or the booking fee, or even maybe the first night. But then if you've given them enough notice, if you give them 24-hour notice, that's not going to happen. But this is the first time I've had this come up. So I'm wanting to bring it up to our community, make sure you guys are aware of it and are watching for these sort of things, watching for cancellations, because, your plans do change. I mean, as full-timers especially, we like that freedom to be able to change our plans. And then, of course, with family or work stuff, some things you have to change your plans.
Down. What happened to us in Pennsylvania?
We had that happen.
Absolutely no refund. We lost the entire,
But that was a last minute. Yeah. It was last minute. We thought it was unfair that because we were broken down, he wouldn't give us anything. But I
that's just the reality.
To some degree.
They're running a business.
Yeah, and it was a peak time, he said. At any rate.
So that's... that goes along with what we said last time, which I can't remember what I was going to bring up. But Mark had a question about Harvest Host and Boondockers memberships.
We love it, Mark.
Yeah, we do. You just have to know going in what you're getting. And one thing I see from people that buy those memberships is they have maybe some unrealistic expectations about those spaces. So Harvest Host has been fantastic for us, but it's one night. It's just meant to be someplace to stop between here and there, one campground to another, or whatever you're doing. You stop at a brewery, you go in, you buy a dinner and a beer, and that's your payment for the campground. So that's an expectation that you need to meet and understand.
So I would say two things on that. So, and also there's a couple of different kinds of memberships, I think, on the Harvest Host. Mm-hmm. So one includes golf courses. Yeah. And that's one we have. And I would tell you that we've stayed at more golf courses probably than anything.
Yeah. We like that.
They tend to be.
There are a lot of them.
Yeah, there are a lot more.
They give us more opportunities.
Mm-hmm. But if you don't get the golf course one, so you're down to farms and breweries and wineries, which are great fun. And the one thing I think I've heard from people against Harvest Host, or what they don't like, is there is that expectation you're going to buy something. Mm-hmm. Now, nobody tells you how much to spend there. We usually end up spending a lot, because if it's a brewery or a winery,
an experience for us.
We think of it as our night out, and it's an experience, and we're not paying for the campground anyway. So it doesn't usually equal quite as much as a campground, but it can. Yeah. Depending on how much you like it.
Yeah, you combine your cost of membership for Harvest Host plus what you spend at the place. It's not a place, you're not doing it because you're trying to get off cheap, generally speaking.
No, but you're going to spend what you probably would have spent at campground. Yep. But you're going to have a neat experience. Nice. You're either going to have dinner, you're going to have a beer tasting or wine tasting, or meet some nice people, because the Harvest Host folks, people are really great. Yeah. So we've and sometimes, like the time we stayed at the museum, it cost $5 because I just went into the museum. That was all it cost. So it varies, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. The Boondockers Welcome, which is new addition to the folks that own Harvest Host. We've been a member of that as well, even before it was Harvest Host, and we've had just a couple experiences with that we've tried it. But the good thing there is you can stay more than one night. Yeah. So that is multiple nights, and normally speaking, the people are exceedingly warm, gracious. The first time we did it, was in California, and the gentleman invited us up for wine that they had made themselves, and
gave you a tour of an amazing garden that his wife was master gardener.
So I mean, again, I like it because I like those memberships, because that's the reason we're out on the road, is to see things that we wouldn't see otherwise, and to meet people, namely locals. And I think that by staying in any of these places, you get a little extra. And to Barry's point, most of the time, this is something we're using in transition or sort of in between going from one place to another. Yeah. Yep. The Boondocker Welcome we did in California, we were there 5 days. And it worked out really nicely, because it was hard to find a campground for what we wanted to visit. So it was just perfect.
And almost all those are just people that have extra land that,
big driveways,
like RVers,
or they are RVers usually.
Usually they are RVers, and there's and sometimes they'll offer you electricity or water, and to hook up your rig, and there may be a small nominal fee for that. Or free. A lot of times it's free, but just be prepared for that. So good question, Mark.
Mark says we're very helpful and down to earth. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
We try. All right. So that, so what we thought we'd talk about now is renovations. Yeah?
Yes.
So, so the first thing we want to talk about is our own little renovation project. And when I say we, I mean that in the most royal senses.
Do you want to talk about the skylight install?
Yes.
So do we need to set this up? So we had I say a little bit about it in the video, but we had a storm, knocked out our skylight. I went to go fix it. So here is my little overview.
We thought we'd share
of the skylight install. Good luck. Welcome to the virtual campground. So a couple of nights ago, it stormed pretty much all night, and there was rain off and on. And around sunrise, we heard a loud thump on top of the rig. I went out to check on things and found water dripping into the shower and water dripping into the living room. So I knew we had a problem, crawled up on top of the roof and saw that our skylight had taken a hit from a limb that had fallen, and now I'm going to start on a temporary fix for the skylight. And I say temporary because the distributor I went to did not have the perfect size skylight, and there's nothing magic to this. It's just a piece of plastic essentially that or acrylic that fits over a hole that they've made for your skylight. And so I just picked up a a basic one that they had that's pretty close to the dimensions, and I'm hoping it just gets me by for the next couple of weeks until I can get a replacement that's thicker, and hopefully this will work out. Thanks for being here. Here are the supplies that I used. I purchased a skylight from a nearby Camping World. There are some shop towels. I had 2 tubes of Dicor lap sealant, self-leveling lap sealant. Probably could have used a third, but 2 worked out just perfectly. And some mineral spirits, and I used that just to clean off everything after I had scraped away the previous materials that were holding down the other skylight. Some rubber gloves and some self-tapping screws, self-driving screws to put in the new skylight. And that is how you install a skylight. Now, full disclosure, it did take me a little longer than that video.
Yes, it did. The interesting thing is we had a smoke.
Oh yeah, smoke colored.
Now it's clear. Oh my goodness, it's so much brighter in our bathroom.
Yeah.
I think I like it. I'm going to ask me again in the summer when it's really
well, my thought was it'd be temporary, but it's going to be up there for a while. It darn near killed my knees. So reminded me how old I am.
He's got to wear knee pads next time. So add knee pads to the list. You should add that to the video. You have to add knee pads. So yes. All right. So that was installing a skylight. Yes. I always want to say sunlight, but that's wrong. It's skylight. So if you ever need to do that, it's an easy DIY.
Yeah, relatively easy. Just and
wear knee pads.
That's right.
So those things happen. I mean, ours happened because the branch was only about this big around. It wasn't very big at all.
Hit it perfectly
and just tore a hole, and then we had a leak. Luckily, it was into the shower.
That's right.
So, and it's held up well. You've done a fine job with it. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right. So then the other thing that we want to talk a little bit about is a lot of folks like to do a refresh with paint in their rig. And we talked to Ashley Mann the other day. If you saw that, it was on our Facebook group. And Ashley is right now doing an online virtual summit called Ready to Renovate. And this is something that goes on until I think, it started Monday. It's 5 days. So Friday, during the day, she's got some great folks in there helping her with this. And they're doing their panel discussions and taking live questions from the chat. And really offering some great ideas from, if you're a newbie and never have done this is how you can renovate, to, you do this well and you want to flip some RVs, and now how do I sell the RVs I'm flipping? So I think it's a great seminar, but we wanted to get some hints from Ashley on paint, because it's the question we get the most often asked from our group is, what's the best way to, when you want to paint your rig? And the first thing, of course, is figure out what you want to paint. That was her first suggestion. And when you say that, of course, you think, well, the walls, or a lot of people do the cabinets. You can see here, this person's done it in a version of green on their cabinets. So you want to probably look at our Facebook RV Renovations group, gives some great ideas. Pinterest, of course, has lots of ideas, and all these people have ideas on their websites. Figure out what you want to do. Think about even leaving some of the wood. I know everybody wants to paint because they get tired of the brown of the RV, but you can use like this here. She used the wood as an accent, but painted some of the cabinet white. So that's an idea. So then what Ashley suggested is, of course, you want to clean first, and you can use usually just a wet rag with water for most of the dust. And then she also suggested this liquid TSP. Sorry, I read it backwards. And it is backwards on the picture. Yep. Substitute. So she said don't use the regular TSP because it can mix and not play well with your primer, but the substitute will work well. And it's especially good if you're using it in greasy areas. So, or areas that might have some gunk on the walls. So that would be a good thing to do. Also, if you're gutting, my suggestion is you spray paint it. Get one of those sprayers from the Lowe's and do a big spray thing. But if you're not, then definitely use rollers where you can, because the brush strokes can leave streaks. So that's kind of a pain. We
did an interview with who was the editor for the Rootless magazine? Damien. And he had just renovated his rig, and they used a sprayer, and it made the world of difference.
Yep, you can see that video too on our YouTube channel. But yeah, your walls might not need primer because they have some texture, but if you're either using real wood, you'll want to do a light sand, or if it doesn't have any kind of texture to things, you'll want to use a bonding primer, especially on the laminate wood.
Very good.
Say that again twice. And Ashley suggested using the bonding primer, Glidden Gripper primer, but there's many others. So, and then a couple of great hints. A lot of folks do paint the cabinets, and your cabinets probably need to go in the same place that they came from.
Yeah.
So a great idea, yes, is to number them right where the hinge is, because then the hinge will cover the number. But that's a good idea, is to number have a numbering system so you know to put it back where it came from. Same with your hinges themselves. I would have some sort of system in order to not put them all together, because it's a RV, and I think sometimes things are special in RVs and you want to put the same hinge back where it came from. So, and then another great hint was, if you can paint the front and the back of the cabin at the same time, that's probably a lot easier and takes less time. So if you can be outside, you can attach the top of the cabinet perhaps with a nail through a 2x4 or thin, again, not 2x4, but a thin piece of wood.
1x2 maybe.
Yeah, 1x2, and kind of stagger them so that you can paint them front and back at the same time. And that will save you a lot of time. So, but if you want to get more hints about painting, tomorrow there is a panel in Ready to Renovate at noon, tomorrow's noon Central Standard Time, where you can hear from Carla Bradley, Sarah Lemp, Ashley, Rachel Uhlenberger, and others about their best hints and tips for painting and what products they use. And they would also take questions in the chat. So it's a great, like I said, I think this is a great virtual campground. I think this is one of those, it's new, but I think it's a great virtual summit just based on the topics and the sessions I have sat in on, because so many of us, you want to make some changes. Now, I'm not one that has gone and totally redone the RV. For me, peel and stick wallpaper has been a better option than painting.
But it made a world of difference.
Made a huge difference. Yeah.
It made, and we do need to do a walkthrough video of our rig, because some of the stuff that Deb's done has been not simple, not easy to do, relatively speaking, but it is, but it
pretty
made
simple.
a lot of difference. Yeah. It's a bit easier than painting.
Yes, absolutely. So, there are a lot of things you can do, from peel and stick wallpaper to a complete gutting and redoing your rig. And if you're interested in any of those things, there are plenty of experts out there. We have a playlist in the virtual campground of interviews we've done with people that have done gutted kind of redos and continue to have more information and rig walkthrough so that you can get more ideas and suggestions for your own rig. We're always interested in helping you do that.
That's right.
So Mark said that his wife doesn't let him use power tools. So I guess I was being kind and letting him use a power tool, Mark. I like it when he uses power tools.
Next time
I don't use them.
Next time you can do the skylight.
Not me. No, that would have taken much longer. I wouldn't even know which is the right power tool to use. I'd have been driving the nails in instead of out. So anyway, okay. Well, I think that brought us to the end of our topics for the day. If anybody has any questions, we'd love to help you out. If there's anything we can answer for you. Did I ask another trivia question we didn't answer?
Yeah, you did. We had another trivia question earlier. Oh,
you asked me about what's the name of the alternate name to the Derby.
That's right. And I don't think anybody guessed that.
No, that's great. I know Mark knows that answer, though. But it is called the Run for the Roses. And do you know that the rose
song about that
blanket that they get at the end has more than 554 roses on it? I know, crazy. Approximately, I should say that.
And this year it's made by Kroger, which I didn't know did. Kroger.
Made
you know that?
No, I didn't. You knew something I didn't know. Kroger sells flowers, yes.
Yeah, Kroger has, I guess, the sponsorship with the Derby to do the...
So they're doing the rose blanket that they get, the winner gets. The trophy is also made of gold that they get. I know, crazy. Of course, the horse doesn't get anything. He's the one that did all the work.
Oh, well, he gets something.
He gets oats. Okay. So, and the other thing I wanted to ask, if anybody knew the horse that did the Derby in the shortest amount of time.
Oh, yes. I know they entered this one.
Do you?
Yeah, because she was very famous.
Yes. No. Her name was Secretariat.
No.
Secretariat.
I remember that for some reason. But maybe just because the movie came out about it.
Yeah, there's a book and a movie. It was a good book. I read that book. It's really good. Yeah. And you know why? They found out after Secretariat passed away.
This is an amazing story.
They did what they call a necrox. Autopsy for animals is Necrocy, I think it's called. And anyway, they did one. And Secretariat's Heart was 3 times. No, that's the Grinch. But it was. It was pretty much.
Yeah, 3 or 4 times bigger.
Twice, I think. Twice? Well, a little bit more than twice.
Huge.
3 times. Because, because a normal horse heart is 9 pounds, and Secretariat's was like 22.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
Pretty amazing. Anyway,
the only other thing we have to talk about is our own event, the Camp Carpe Diem, coming up October
Kentucky Derby
20,
of campers.
I don't know. We can't use that. We'll get sued by someone.
I don't want to be sued.
No. So Brevard, Asheville, October 20th through the 23rd. Tickets on sale at campcarpediem.com. We do still have a few tickets left, and would love to have you join us. This is a lot of fun with mountain biking, hiking, photography, brewery, tours, beer tastings, that sort of stuff.
Campfires, just hanging around the campfire. S'mores.
So it is a ton of fun. We had a great time in Uray last year, and we are looking forward to going to the Brevard, Asheville, one of our favorite places in the country.
Yep. Yep. And you can watch one of our shows where we shared a lot of information and pictures of Brevard, so you can see why it's our favorite and why you will want to go to that area as well. Yeah. So look for that in the show notes, and we will make sure to have a link for that, as well as a link for the Ready to Renovate in case you haven't seen it yet. So you can use our link to get over there to see the panel on paint tomorrow.
That's right.
Join us next week. We hope to have a show.
Yeah,
it's going to be a hard week for us.
Yeah, we've got a busy week, and I go to a conference, so we're just we're going to figure something out maybe. But if we don't, go watch other videos.
And we'll be back in 2 weeks.
We'll be back.
But we're going to come back hopefully with one on Uray.
Yeah,
one of our favorite Colorado destinations.
Lots of beautiful photos and some good tips on what to do there.
Yep, absolutely. So Jimmy says his big remodel is adding a magnetic strip for your kitchen knives.
Hey,
that's great because I've seen some of those and those are really cool. And we've been thinking about trying to add something where we can little baskets up there because we have a lot of stuff on the counter and I need more counter space.
Fruits and vegetables and stuff. All right. Anything else?
Nope. That's it. Well, that's all for today.
Thank you so much for being here. It was great having you. Until we get to meet you in person one day, we hope to see you in the virtual campground.
Jimmy, thanks for coming. See y'all later.